Hello, and thanks for coming to this presentation. My name is Tony Singaraya, and learning how to design business model innovations has been a serious interest of mine for 15 years. In this presentation, I will tell you about how Analogy thinks and works. And at the end of the presentation, you will have an opportunity to download some of the tools that we use to get the job done. So let me tell you a little bit about how we think and what got us started on this track of business model innovation. In 1997, after working for 10 years with Johnson & Johnson in various management roles, I was given responsibility to lead new category development globally for the consumer and personal care companies. The job essentially was to find new categories and new markets to enter by acquisitions, partnerships, licenses, and so on. At the time, J&J operated in about 175 countries, had revenues of about $60 billion, and I was generously funded to engage the best brand name consultants to assist me. There was a lot of potential for growth. However, 1 year later, we had been unable to convince the board to move into any substantial new business, and I was deeply frustrated. We had the best advice and huge resources, but could not seem to get the job done. In the year, we had studied about 35 to 40 new healthcare markets, everything from sleep to stress to hearing to nutrition. But every time we took an idea to the board for funding, after months of seriously preparing an investment proposal, we would hear them respond with comments like, "We're not convinced about the business model you propose," or "We need a new business model to make this work." I realized I did not really understand what business model meant. And clearly, neither did the consultants we worked with. What was worse, however, was that the board did not seem to have a clear definition of business model either. Each board member gave me common sense answers to the question, what is a business model? But these common sense answers were different enough from each other that they did not help at all in practically designing or pressure testing business model innovations. So that's when I decided to seriously study business models and develop a business model innovation methodology. After 10 years of practicing the methods in various J&J companies and brands in the US and globally, as well as in projects with key suppliers like the Dow Chemical Company and with key J&J channel partners like Walmart, for example, I left to focus full-time on business models and founded Analogy. When I started studying business models seriously in 1997, I was struck by three common but serious business problems. These problems have since got worse, not better, and remain relevant. The first problem, characterized by this illustration, is that the return on innovation is horribly low. The fact is, most new products and innovation projects fail to deliver the results expected. And this, by the way, includes innovation results from some of the best companies in the world. So, the few projects that do succeed end up paying for all those that fail. Now, we've curated statistics on this innovation problem for several years and consistently find that only 2 to 5% of all innovation projects actually succeed. So what this means is that the best companies in the world, with the best management talent in the world, get results that would make any grade school child blush. So, it's clear that innovation carries a massive waste factor. Now, there are several reasons for this, and they're all reasons that we at Analogy try to address, and I'll talk about these as we move forward. So the second problem we confronted was that despite all the flurry of innovation activity, even the best companies in an industry seem to offer their customers very similar products and services and seem to operate their businesses in very similar ways. So our big question was, if everyone is investing in innovation, why does everyone's business look the same to their customers? But then every so often, there was one company that did something really unique, and this unique thing made it stand out from the crowd. So for 15 years, what we've done is identify these unique standout business models and unpack them to understand what it is that they do. The third problem we encountered is that most companies seemed to worry far too much about commoditized products, and worry far too little about commoditized business models. Here's what I mean. Although many companies pursue asset innovation, especially product innovation, aggressively, only a very few companies knew how to purposefully and systematically pursue business model innovation. So what ended up happening is that most companies persisted in using a business model that most of the competition also used. In other words, most companies used commoditized business models. Now, the way we see it, business assets which companies invest aggressively in and business models which companies largely ignore are sort of the yin and yang of ingredients required for business success. Increasingly, there is evidence to show that even a wonderful business asset will fail in the market if it doesn't have a strong business model supporting it. And we've made it our job to try to figure out what unique business model innovations, and these don't have to be dramatic big things, they could be little things, little business model innovations. What is it that it really takes to take a business asset to market optimally? So let's switch gears now and talk about our methodology. So over the last 15 years, we've built a bunch of tools and assets. And probably the most important one is a database of hundreds of market-proven business model innovations from around the world. So what do I mean by a database of business models? Here's what I mean. Let's take an example that is well known, like the razor blade business model. We call this an archetype business model because it is well understood and it represents a whole class of business models. So the razor blade model was formally recognized in 1851 when Gillette started using it, to sell razors and blades. Over the years, about 20 variations of the razor blade model have evolved, and they are all in practice today. We have collected all of them, unpacked each of them, and learned when and where and how to use each of them. So you can think of our database as a playbook of proven business model innovations that apply to different kinds of common business problems. So let me now take you into the 3 steps of what we do for pretty much every project we are involved in. The first step is an analysis that reveals how much value you can create from each cornerstone of your business model. So to begin with, we think of a business as having 6 key elements in its foundation, and we call these 6 elements the 6 cornerstones of the business model. The definition of cornerstone is that a cornerstone is the chief foundation on which a building is constructed. In our definition, the 6 cornerstones are the chief foundation on which the building is constructed. So in our view, the analogy carries very well. A business is rather like a house. If it has a weak foundation, it might look good for a while, but probably won't stand up for very long. So let's take a look at the illustration on this page. It is an analysis of a real company operating in the USA. And this business has an excellent product. Our analysis of the product gives it a score of 90%. But its brand and its marketing efforts are weak and earn a score of only 20%. And the business benefits only moderately from influencers. So what is an influencer? An influencer could be a satisfied, or for that matter, a dissatisfied customer who talks to others. Or it could be a doctor who tells a patient to take a particular medicine, or even a hairstylist who recommends that a client uses your shampoo instead of someone else's shampoo. The next cornerstone we look at is the profit model. And in this case, the company's profit model is quite weak. It earns a score of only 10%. The company's distribution channels are also weak, earning a score of 30%, and its manufacturing is sort of adequate. It earns a score of 60%. So as you look through these 6 cornerstones, you see clearly where the company's biggest strengths and weaknesses are. And that's what makes this tool useful. So we think about it as a lens that allows you to look at the foundation of every business that you consider. It's a lens that penetrates deep into the foundation of a business model, revealing its strengths and weaknesses. So what we've given you, at the end of this presentation, you can download this business model assessment tool. By the way, we've never given this away free before, so if you have comments and reactions, we would love to hear them. And you'll be able to download this tool at the end of this talk. So anyway, this is your first step to assess the strengths and weaknesses of your business model. And here's what we do in step 2. Step 2 is to recognize which cornerstones are most important to success in your industry or category. So it's not a surprise that different cornerstones are important in different industries. For example, for a fast-moving consumer goods brand, so think about the brands that you find in any grocery store, for example. 3 cornerstones are really important. The product is obviously important. A consumer goods brand needs a high-quality, differentiated product that gets the consumer's job done really well. It also needs a strong consumer brand equity and marketing skill, and it needs effective distribution channels that attract shoppers. So weakness in any of these 3 cornerstones would be a significant disadvantage and would certainly affect business performance. So let's switch gears now and think about a consumer goods business, but from the perspective of a retailer. So if you are a retailer of consumer goods, it might appear that the 3 cornerstones you need to light up and be strong in are identical to the cornerstones that a consumer brand would need to turn up and be powerful in. And you'd be right, they are the same 3 cornerstones. But here's where the nuances are. In addition to having great products in your store and a powerful retail brand, so you can think of Walmart as a powerful retail brand, you also need to have attractive offers to get people into your store. So you could think about Walmart's proposition of everyday low prices as a way to attract people into their stores. And you also need an attractive store layout and merchandising program so that you can deliver a pleasurable shopping experience to people who come to your stores. So for a pleasurable shopping experience, you probably want to think of something like an Apple store. You know, people really like to shop in Apple stores. They enjoy the experience, and you might ask, why is that? So for a retailer, the same 3 cornerstones, but with very different emphasis on each. So let's look at just one more example for a different industry, and this is for a pharmaceuticals company. For a pharma company, the emphasis on the cornerstones is once again quite different. You do need an effective product, but this is a product that meets very high standards of efficacy and safety. It's a highly regulated product, as we all know, so it's very different than a consumer goods product. You also need a professional sales force to educate your influencer, in this case the doctor, about your product. And you also need to be able to address any barriers the doctor has to writing prescriptions for your product, because this is the primary way you're going to get patients, that is your consumers, to consume your product. So from these many cases, you can sort of see that the cornerstones that really matter are really different depending on your industry. And as you will also sense by now, the kinds of innovations that really count are also going to be quite different depending on your industry. So in summary, here's what we do. We diagnose the potential to improve each cornerstone that is critical to a client's ability to compete and to its ability to drive revenue and profit growth. And then we recommend business model innovations to sharply improve the performance of that cornerstone. But the recommendations are refined and really tested hard before they become final. And I'll talk about that next. Finally, we suggest you consider using this format to prioritize your business model innovation recommendations. It is a very simple format, but we've proved and we've learned that it resonates with senior management because it focuses on 2 kinds of useful criteria that senior managers think about all the time. So the x-axis in this 2x2 considers questions like, if we succeed at implementing this innovation, how much business impact will it have? Will it have high business value or low business value? It also considers questions like, how strong is the fit this innovation has with what we do? And how different and unique will this make us relative to competition? The y-axis, on the other hand, answers a different type of question. So these are questions like, can we really do this well? Can we implement this well? Do we have the right skills and right experience? Will it be easy or hard for us to get this job done right? It also answers questions like, what if this thing fails? Can we afford the cost of failure? And so on. This is a picture of a real set of recommendations made to a global Fortune 50 company. We had been commissioned by this client to design a business strategy and business model for a significant new business they were interested in. And each point on this scatter plot is in fact a business model innovation. The key at the bottom tells you that some of these little dots are product innovations, some are channel innovations, some are consumer innovations, and so on and so forth. The scores that made each of these recommendations land in the quadrants where you see them lie currently were provided by client management. So we have this simple way of giving management scorecards and criteria. Management independently, each management member independently inputs their scores. We gather the scores, and then we have an online or in-person workshop to rationalize the scores, report them back to management, and so on. Now this step is really critical, because if you can get management to score the innovations themselves, you end up not having to sell them anything, because they've gone through the scoring process, they sort of recognize where things landed on the scatter plot, and in this case, the client decided, not surprisingly, to focus on the priorities, which are in the northeast quadrant, and then to pick a few from the find partner quadrant to find partners to get the job done right. So, thank you for staying with me through this presentation. Now you've seen our approach to practice business model innovation seriously and systematically. We've been refining our approach for the last 15 years, and I really hope that you found this presentation useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. You'll see my email address on the page you're looking at. And if you'd like to download the business model assessment tool, by the way, as I think I mentioned, we've never given this tool away free before, so we'd love to hear if you have any reactions to it. And you will be taken to the page where you will be able to download this tool next. Thanks again.